Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I looks okay.
Oh,
So basically, I've met you within one of our session, I believe, networking session, and I've actually read some of your articles on LinkedIn. I found them quite interesting, and I'm like, yeah, I need to interview you and ask you a bit more about what you do, and if you can share with the audience, actually. So,
yeah. So I'm Jackie Grant. I'm a hormone health and fitness coach. And so what I do is I work with women who may be struggling with a hormone imbalance and also struggling to lose weight.
So you shared on your website that you've been through some challenging time, and especially you've mentioned the PCOS. I didn't know this. I didn't know about PCOS. So maybe can you tell a bit more about it?
Okay, so PCOS is a hormone imbalance, and various symptoms can occur for people. So some people can have weight gain, and that can be like really difficult for them to overcome. And then some people can have acne, pelvic problems, and they're all kind of hormone imbalances. Hair, overgrowth of hair. There's so many different symptoms. In terms of what I experienced was I had like abdominal and pelvic floor problems with it, and it was really severe. So my periods were really, really bad and heavy, to the point that, I couldn't really get out of bed really. And yeah, I was struggling with that until I got diagnosed when I was about 32. And that's what started me on my hormone journey, really, because I started to look at various, at the time I didn't notice that there was enough information apart from it was Verity, a support group that I was in. But the more that I read some of the stuff that people were saying, the more I got disturbed. So I just started to build in my nutrition, my own nutrition, in terms of what I was able to research, changed my nutrition, and my symptoms alleviated, basically.
Okay. And what type of nutrition did you, I mean, what type of diet did you follow then?
So at the time, I followed low GI.
Okay,
So,
which
was taking out certain foods that were high GI foods.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I started off with, and until I did my own training and started to build in just eating healthy, really. But that's where I started my journey. That's not where I've kind of ended it. I don't really kind of follow that anymore. I really, really focus on just taking out the crap, as I say. Well,
Okay.
caffeine I never really had. Refined
Okay.
sugar,
Yeah.
alcohol and processed foods. So that's mainly what I focus on.
Wow. Talking about caffeine, I'm a caffeine addict. Every morning I need to have my coffee. And I think I've read one of your articles. You were saying that sometimes maybe the reason why we actually drink coffee is because we want sugar, because usually we put sugar in the inside the coffee. So would you say that caffeine is not good at all for women?
I wouldn't say that it's not good. I just say that you just have to be mindful about how many cups you have a day, and try to reduce it by 12 o'clock, not have any more after that, because generally caffeine's a stimulant, so it's going to stimulate you, it's going to stimulate the body, it's going to keep you awake. If you know, if anyone's got any sleeping problems, it's best to reduce it, especially before 12 o'clock. But, you know, really and truly, I wouldn't say that it's a bad thing, but, you know, some people, it can be bad for them. So that's what I'd say about that, really.
Okay, so I've shared one of your challenges, which is called Eating Real Food Challenge. Can you tell us a bit more about it?
Oh, yeah. So that challenge is really about people bringing in small changes, small habit changes. So it was a 2-week challenge, people just daily bringing in small daily changes, and then, you know, having something to, you know, write a little journal as to what went well, what didn't go well, you know, depending on what goals that they set at the start of the challenge.
And how do you help people?
So how I help people is, it's really around their building in new habits. You know, there's sometimes some habits that we have forgotten. For instance, chewing is the one that I always talk about, because, you know, it's funny when I've done consultations with people and they've gone, yeah, I just cut and swallow. So it's quite a good analogy of like people just not really chewing their food. They just cut the food and then they swallow it in their mouth. So, you know, and I always talk about the fact that, you know, if, you know, we have a mouth for a reason, we have the saliva for a reason, we have all those things in order for our body to digest the food. So if we're just cutting and swallowing, the saliva hasn't even had a chance to break down the food before it actually reaches the stomach. So it's really important that, you know, we kind of chew our food. So those kind of small habits that I get clients to build in, whether it's that, and then looking at, you know, I get some of my clients, it just depends, because, you know, it depends what someone presents with. So if someone says that they've got like either a sugar habit and they want to stop sugar, for instance, so I might start with them in terms of an energy experiment, and that would be a 4-day experiment where I say to them, eat this, eat that, not specific foods. I might say plant-based, meat-based, and I might say to write down how you're feeling each time you've, you know, 2 hours after you've eaten it, so that people can actually see what it's actually doing for them. Because once you notice something yourself, you're more likely to follow through with it, because you might notice, oh my God, when I ate that meat with like high amount of carbs, I felt really sluggish throughout the afternoon. So it's for people to really get understanding of what habits that you have that may be impacting on your sleep, your energy, how you're feeling, how you're being, your mood, you know. So it's really about building those things in, rather than giving someone a meal plan and getting them to follow it.
Okay. All right, cool. What about intermittent? Am I saying it right? Intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
Basically, I've actually heard of it a few years ago, and I've tried it because when I had my boy, I never did fasting, and then I breastfeed for about 3 years. So I forget about fasting. But then after that, I said, look, I probably need to do something for my body. Yeah. And I tried intermittent fasting, and it really, really helped in terms of craving. So what do you think of that?
What, in terms of the craving, or in terms of
intermittent fasting? Does it really work for you?
Well, it works for me. It doesn't work for everyone. It just depends, you know. I always say that it's really good to try something for, like, say, a couple of days. But I really like fasting, because like you say, if you start eating in the morning, then the next minute they're grazing and eating all throughout the day. If you fast from the evening to, like, you know, late morning, then you're eating your first meal later. You are still having a breakfast. You're still breaking the fast, as breakfast, what breakfast means. It just means that your breakfast comes later, and then you're giving 3 to 4 hours, and then you're eating your next meal, 3 to 4 hours, you're eating your next meal. So, you know, it just means that you're giving your body a rest, you're letting your gut heal, you know, because if it's constantly moving, I mean, it's not really getting that time to rest and repair. So that's what we really want to focus on when it comes to that. And I mean, it's a really good way of, if people are looking to lose weight, it's a really good way of losing weight and not thinking about calories and all this kind of macros and macronutrients, and you know how many things you're putting in it, what you're not putting in the diet, you're taking out protein, you're putting in carbs, you know, all that, to actually give someone so much things to think about. It's just one thing to think about, really.
Yeah, sure. And what about vegan diet? I mean, if I have to share my story, my husband is vegetarian. So he's been vegetarian for a couple of years now, and close to vegan. So at home we don't buy meat.
Okay.
And I think it helped me as well in terms of controlling my weight, even though that I didn't have a really huge, issues in terms of weight, gaining weight. But I've seen the difference in terms of having a vegan diet and eating less meat. What do you think of vegan diet?
Well, vegan diet, vegetarian, it's all good. You know, people got to find what works for them, yeah? And if something works, then you continue to do it. If it doesn't work, you don't do it. But in terms of what I think, the real benefits to, I'd say, vegetarian, vegan, there's benefits too. In terms of vegan, I would say you get more fiber in than you do when you're eating meat. Your body expels things easier because you're eating more vegetables, more whole foods. It's so incredible the difference that you'll see in your skin, your nails, you know, because people tend, when they eat meat, they tend to just eat meat with loads of carbs rather than eating meat and having loads of colourful vegetables and diversifying throughout the week. You know, in terms of when you're on a vegan diet, you're more likely to get the weekly amount, 30 different plant-based foods throughout the week, rather than if you're having a meat diet. So I always say, like I said at the start, people got to find out what works for them.
Yeah, sure. And how can we really control, you know, because the fast food is everywhere and it's so tempting, you know, especially when you are a busy mom and sometimes you are work and you're so lazy and tired, you don't want to cook every single day for the family. So it's kind of, you know, tempting sometimes to just order pizza.
Yeah.
So how can we control that?
Planning.
Okay.
Planning, basically. So, you know, some people find it like, oh, this is another thing to do, another thing to add to their list. But actually, if you sat with your family, you worked out on a Sunday what you were going to have for the week, what meals you were going to have, planned it all out, batch cooked, yeah, then you're less likely to veer towards down the road, probably 2 minutes from your house, there's something to eat. You're probably less likely to veer towards that if you planned, prepared, made sure that you batch cooked, you had things in the freezer that you could like actually go and eat.
Yeah, okay, cool. And maybe last thing, as you're working more with women, isn't it? Yeah. So what are probably the main tips, advice you can give to women in terms of do and don't is in terms of diet and food, really. Yeah, because reading your article make me realize that as a woman, we can't actually give everything to our body, and we have to consider the fact that we have hormones and we have to manage that. And as you said as well, I believe you also work with women with menopause. So it's actually a whole challenge for us throughout our life. So when we actually have our periods, the first time we get our periods, and then having baby, losing weight, and then the menopause. My gosh, there's so many things to to manage as a woman. So what advice and tips, maybe key things that you would like to share with women?
Okay, so the key thing is to manage your stress. Stress is a big factor when it comes to overall health. Yeah, it impacts on your hormones, your mood, your sleep, all the things that we need to be making sure that we're, being healthier and fitter. So I would say that's one thing definitely to do, to make sure that you manage your stress. And the thing is to understand that stress isn't just about because you've got overwhelmed or got so much work to do. Stress can be just driving your car and shouting at someone. Yeah, that is a stressor as well. Do you see what I'm saying? So understanding that different things can impact on you, but you might not think it's stress. Yeah, because once your body starts to go into fight flight, and that can happen also when you over exercise. If you over exercise, that can happen. You can totally go into a big stressor when you over exercise. So that's a don't over exercise. Do set that stress management. Self-care is a big thing. Do self-care. We always forget about doing a bit of self-care. Even okay, at the moment, definitely in the UK, some other countries are still in lockdown, but we can't have a massage but you've got a bath. If you haven't got a bath, then, just put some incense on and, just take some deep breaths in, breaths out. I always love the 5-5-7 breath. I always tell my clients about that, breathe in for 5, hold for 5 and breathe out for 7, and just do 10 rounds of that. And that's really good, especially a lot of people say, oh, I'm eating so healthy and I'm still putting on weight. Now, the thing is, it might be because of stress. So if you do that 5-5-7 breath round, 10 rounds just before you eat, you bring the stress down before you eat. Because what happens is, if you're in stress, then your blood just rushes to, the muscles that it thinks it's going to use, because it thinks there's a tiger, but there isn't a tiger. It's just that you was running about all day, and then you came and sat down and you just ate your food really fast. But if you do that, just relax. So that's another thing. What else I could tell you? I could go on and on and on. Exercise. Make sure that it's part of your life. Making sure that you are getting 3 to 5 times exercise, even if it's a 30-minute exercise a day. Try to build that in. You don't have to start off with any madness, any mad hit or anything like that. Strength-based exercise is really, really good, and it's really good for maintaining your tone, of your body. It's really good for your endorphins. Any exercise is good for your endorphins, but strength exercise is really important, especially as we age, because we do lose 3% of our muscle mass as we age every 10 years. So really, strength training is really important.
Okay.
I think I'll stop there. Otherwise, I'll be here for ages. We'll be here for hours.
That's really interesting. Really, really, really. So how can people? Oh my gosh! How can people can contact you?
Okay, so I'm on LinkedIn, Jackie Grant. Actually, it's under We Grant Fitness and Health, which is my company name. So on LinkedIn, and then on Facebook, I'm Jackie Grant, Hormone Health and Fitness Coach. You can find me there. So, and then also I've got a Facebook group, which is Balancing Women's Hormones for Fat Loss. And my website is We Grant Fitness and Health. So if you just put that in Google, it'll come up straight away.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Jackie. That was lovely.
Brilliant.
Thank you for watching FTM Women's Network. So what we do is we specialize in networking events for women, female entrepreneur, moms at home as well. We base in East London, so we do different activities each month. And I'm also a freelance marketer. I offer marketing consultancy for businesses. So if you would like to know more about FTM Women's Network, you can go to the website ftnwomensnetwork.com and find out a bit more about us. Thank you and see you soon. Bye.